Hi everyone, I'm back. It's Michelle. Welcome back if you are an older viewer, and welcome if you are new. Thank you for being here. And to those of you who have been following this little new release videos of mine every day, thank you so much. Thank you for commenting. It really does mean the world to me when you comment and when you like my videos. Even over on Facebook and Instagram. I do love hearing from you, and I love knowing that I'm not just doing this for myself and that you guys are actually finding inspiration from these videos. And it's just nice to know that there is this community and that we all are like-minded and like creating together. So today I decided to take these new washi tapes for a spin. I used the one that's got the rainbowy scallopy one, and I decided that I wanted to make a border on my page using that rainbow washi tape. Okay, so I've glued that down. I did add a little bit of Marlene sticky glue to the edge there because I don't trust washi. I know that eventually it's going to peel off. So I wanted to make sure that it's going to stick there forever and ever. And nothing better to do that with than Marlene's glue. Then I went into the new cut and paste block called Whimsical World. And there's this one page with a beautiful face of a girl, and I'm definitely still going to get to her and use her. But I was really drawn to the background in this. So I kind of trimmed around the girl on that page, and I just used the background. I've glued that down onto my page. And now I'm going to try and extend that paper and blend it into my page so it looks like it was there all along. I often do this. It's a really, really fun thing to do when you don't really know what to do or where to start. Marlene's papers are so inspirational. And because she obviously uses her own paint colors, it's really easy to match her paint colors to what is on the paper and to just extend what is there. And if you look at the details on those papers that she has, you'll probably be able to break down what shapes and colors and mark makings she has on there. Just take it one little square at a time and look at the color, look at the marks that are on there, see if you can blend your paints together to create the same kind of colors that she has, because obviously she'll be blending her paints and making new colors. And that's also quite a fun exercise to be doing, to just practice color blending and creating these fun little backgrounds. There was a stage when I was doing this and I thought, oh no, this is not coming together at all. But as I like to say, is the only way out is through. So I just kept going and going. While I took a little break to think what's next, I'm just extending that little mandala scallopy bits at the top there. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to start making marks with my stencils. Not that I could see any stencil. This shape was definitely not on there. Somebody suggested we call them almonds, so that's what they'll be called henceforth. So I'm using the almonds on the Frantic Deco stencil, and I'm just doing some reductive stenciling with Breeze, and I'm doing some mark making with Mermaid. By the way, on that background, I used Envy, Kermit, Royal, Ballet, Hot Curry, Azure. I also used Police and Ho Ho Ho. I think that was about the extent of it. And Okay, when I'm done with doing some mark makings with my paintbrush and the stencil, I'm going in with Marlene's paint pens. And I'm really just looking at what she's got on the paper and I'm extending that. I'm going over it to make it a little bit brighter and I'm extending it. And like with the stars, I added a couple more stars just so it all looks like they belong together. This little ladder shape was also on that paper, so I'm just adding a couple more of these ladders. I call them ladders because that's what they look like to me. And then I had this one pink and orange dot, and I've also created a couple more dots, so it's just not one random dot in the middle of the page there. I also wanted to add some white with my rub-ons, and so that's what I've got here. And I'm just using little bits and pieces of the rub-ons. I'm not even using a whole section of it. Sometimes I cut them in half and then I've got another half for another day. And yeah, just plopping in a couple of brighter areas there. That just adds interest to the page. So one thing that you do need to make note of when you do use the rub-ons, once they go down, they almost, they're a little bit plasticky, although I think they are matte. So on this paper, on this page, I did do some mark making with paints over the top of it, and it seems to hold, so it's not rubbing off, but maybe just keep that in mind. Okay, I wanted to use these green flowers from the beginning on this page, but then they just sunk into the background, and then I looked at the red ones, but they were too big, and then I happened upon the birds. So I'm going to cut 3 birds from that little sheet there. They are not too tricky to fussy cut. I did not even attempt to cut around the feet. I just chopped them off and drew them in later. And then the next 2 that I do both have a little bit of a, what do you call it, a comb or a fringe? Let's call them fringes. They've got bangs. And so to trim around the bangs is a little bit tricky, but take my advice and just use a smaller scissor. Don't faff about like me. I did manage to then find my smaller scissor right at the end of it. Of course, it was far too late. But anyway, I found it in the end, and now it's on my desk. Okay, cutting, and then I've got 3 birdies. You know, I like to work in 3, so that's what I'm doing here. And at first I thought I would just ground them on that white mark making that's there already, but in the end I did make the ground a little bit darker, just so it was a little bit more obvious, because at this stage they still felt like they were maybe just floating in the middle of the page. So once I've got them down, I'm looking at the feet that Marlene has done, and I tried doing it with my brown Posca paint pen, but that didn't show up very well. So they all got black feet and little frills around their legs. And then I also go around all of my birds with my black paint pen just to outline them and make them pop off the page. And you'll see now how much that yellow one pops off the page compared to the top green and yellow one. It just does help. It helps to make them stand off the background a bit. Of course, I will go in later and also add some shading. But for now, it's the feet. If you can hear music in the background, enjoy. It's my daughter. She's busy practicing her scales for piano. So if you can hear that, enjoy it. Okay, I also looked for a quote, and I thought this page was fairly chaotic. So my quote in the end was, "Embrace the colorful chaos that is called life." I thought that was quite a cute quote for this page, because one bird is clearly a party animal, and some people like to party in life. And the other bird is quite pretty with her cute little eyelashes. And then the other one, I think maybe he's a little bit serious. So we've got all aspects of life on this page. And they are just embracing the chaos. Okay, I went around with my Stabilo All pencil and I did quite a harsh shadow just on the side and the bottom of each of them. I didn't go around the whole bird. And now I'm going to go in with some white highlights and just help the white that is on there to pop out a little bit more. And it really does make a difference. If I could give you a word of advice, if you're using elements like this or pictures, it's always a good idea to go over the black and white bits again, because they don't print as true black and true white. And yeah, it really just helps to bring them to life. I went in with a little bit of punk paint on my finger. That is the neon purple. And I just brightened up some of the purpley blue areas. And I thought that that really tied everything together for me. It added a little bit of depth to the background. Yeah, I thought that that worked a bit better. And then I trimmed out my little border there. And then there was a little bit of faffing about how I'm going to do the quote, because I wanted to write the word chaos bigger than the rest. And I wasn't too sure if I should put it at the top or the bottom or the side or spread them out. In the end, I went with sticking them down at the top there. So I've got embrace the colorful, then there's a break, and then that is called life. And then right in between those two phrases, I'm going to go in with the word chaos. First with my white Posca paint pen, and then I will thicken up those lines a bit. And then when I'm done with that, I will go over with some colored paint pens from Marlene. I tried with a Posca paint pen, but I think the tip is too hard, so it was kind of rubbing the bottom layer away. So I switched to Marlene's paint pens. I didn't want to use Marlene's pens because I've got the brush tip. I find them quite difficult sometimes to do fine details, but in this instance, it worked well. So there we go. I know it's blending in at the moment, but at the end, in the end, it will all come together, I promise. Going around them, I'm going around the whole word or the whole letter with my black paint pen. Then I'm going to give them all a white highlight. And already you can see a difference, that you can already see it. But I did in the end go back and add an extra white highlight on the outside of all of those black lines, because I felt like it was not popping out quite enough. Little doodly border around the quote, some extra white mark making, and then I decided it's not chaotic enough, let's add more chaos. So first I'm grounding these birds with this little twirly bit, and then I'm going to add a little bit of mark making in green. I'm using this donut looking stamp set in green stays on ink, just here and there and everywhere. And then I'll use those three little circles that's connected, and I'm using a paint pen that's like neon pink to get some extra mark making. So they're not obvious marks because they're obviously a paint pen, but it just added that extra little bit of pink that I felt the page needed. I think that's it for the page. Might be some faffing here and there. Oh yes, I wanted the word chaos still that I cut from the quote on the page. So I'm just making this little, let's call it a flag or a banner or something. And I'm just making a little banner for the little birdie, and it's going to go in his beak. I've put a huge blob of glue down underneath and over the top of it. That'll hopefully hold it in place. Yeah, we'll see in time if it's going to last. All right, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Please leave a comment if you have not done so. Please subscribe if you have not done so. And like and share and do all of the things. And I will chat to you again tomorrow. Okay, bye.